Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and this is Create Your Own Cozy. On this week's video, I went through a different kind of stash. It was the projects that I had started and never finished last Christmas, and stuff that had been in my personal decorating collection for so long that I'm like, I either need to donate this or do something with this. Why not upcycle stuff that I used to love and is no longer my style? Why not just use the basics and see if I can make this my current style? So if you want to see what I come up with, stick around. Project number one is a Christmas tree that I put together last year with some scrap wood. You can see it's painted pink. I did a 45-degree cut on each of these pieces of wood on the back, and then I brad nailed the back in, and then I stopped. Apparently I was done. So let's go ahead and finish this. I am just taking some air dry clay to put in the screw holes from its original project. This used to be a toddler chair that my kids used, colored on, and broke. So I am going to paint this whole thing in the color Faded Burlap. I didn't quite know what I was going to do in the end. I would have just painted it white if I realized I was using decoupage paper. But you know what? Faded Burlap is enough of a light neutral that I think it did the trick. So I am covering front and back. And then I found this scrap piece of wood. I'm just trying to go through my stuff, guys. And I grabbed some Dark and Decrepit, which is a liquid patina from DIY. And I'm just going to use it like a stain. I'm going to brush it on, let it sit for a second, and then rub it in with a paper towel. And then it does not look like this fresh piece of wood that I got from a scrap pile. It looks intentional. Next, I am going to grab this scrapbook. Next, I'm going to grab this scrapbook paper that I got from Sonnet over at Sonnet's Garden Blooms. I'll put a link in my description. This is the Neutral Christmas Masterboard from Roycycled Decoupage Paper. I grabbed the corner that I wanted to use and kind of cut wider than I would need. I like to leave an overhang so that I can sand off the edges. So I'm using DIY's liquid patina, my favorite decoupage medium, and I'm just putting it on strip by strip, just putting the paper over the spaces in between the wood, and I am going to cut the paper down in those seams after everything is completely dry. So I'm working on the first section, rubbing it in with my hand, and then using the liquid patina on the top to get out any air bubbles, and then moving along this whole piece until I get it to adhere the way that I would like. Now, this particular part of the paper did not go tall enough to cover my tree, but I wasn't really worried about that. I'm going to take some of the overhang areas. I'm going to cut off the little extra, and I'm going to do a hodgepodge with the Mod Podge. Haha. Oh my gosh, that was so cheesy. I am going to make that top one very hodgepodgey and kind of put these little pieces together. And I am going to end up putting a tree slice ornament kind of over the top to be the tree topper. So in my opinion, it wouldn't be so obvious that this part was so piecemealed together. All right, so I'm going to use this little sanding doohickey, only sanding in a downward motion after it is completely dry. That way you are not ripping the paper. You're just doing a nice little slice on the edge. Next, I'm going to get out my Ryobi brad nailer. I just love this brad nailer. It does not have a cord. I got one of the shortest brad nails that I have. I didn't have anything long enough to go up through the bottom, so I'm just going to do a little slant. I'm going to be using wood glue on the bottom, and once wood glue attaches wood to wood, It's very much like liquid nails for wood. So that is going to be my permanent solution. And then these little brad nails at a slant on both the front and the back is my temporary solution until the wood glue takes into effect. I am going to, since the nails did not go in all the way, I am just going to spot paint just so they don't stick out so much. Now, if I were building this tree right now, I would make sure I had one more slat of wood. I feel like where I stopped was just a little short. So what I'm going to do is add this little wood slice to the top, and I'm just trying to figure out what to add on top of it. I am covering up the little hole since it's supposed to be an ornament with air dry clay. I'm going to paint it with some faded burlap so that it all kind of goes together. And then was going to use a little snowflake ornament that I had. The white one that I had was too bright white, so I got out the dark and decrepit and just kind of aged that just a little bit, and I feel like now all the colors go together. So I'm going to use Titebond glue to get this little wooden snowflake to attach to the wood slice ornament. After that is adhered, I am going to go back to my Christmas tree and just using a little letter opener to have there be a natural cut in the middle right here, and then I'm going to go over the whole thing with liquid patina again so that the paper kind of goes down into the grooves. And it's just a lot easier way to get them to look like it's decoupaged on individual planks, but just to do it all at once. So I'm using Titebond for the permanent hold and some high temperature hot glue for the immediate hold, and there she is. What do you guys think of this one? Project number 2 is from a Christmas tree from styles of, I don't know, a decade ago of mine. And I still have this. Why do I still have this? I probably could have put this in my booth and sold it as is, but I'm like, you know what? Let me upcycle it because you know what? That's who I am. So I'm going over the whole thing with 2 coats of white Swan from DIY. My idea was go over the whole thing and then use a wet wipe to wet distress so a little bit of these greens and browns and yellows could come back through. But after finishing up, I was like, meh. So I found the scrap piece of wood. And then I got out the old and gray. Could have done this with dark and decrepit, but I wanted to try a little bit different of a look. Got out the old and gray liquid patina from DIY, put it over the wood and wiped it back to have it be more like a stain. And this is when I got out a new to me stencil from JRV, the JRV Harlequin Diamond Stencil. I have these over on my website and I will put a link in the description below. But I am going to use the cottage color in the color Americana. It has a top coat built in, and I'm going to use my 1-inch stencil brush from JRV, which I also have on my website. It's so fun to say I have these things on my website, guys. And I'm just going to use a dabbing motion. I am only going to do 1 coat. I am not wanting this to be super slick. I just want to have this diamond pattern in the background. Another option for this would have been a really cool decoupage paper or any of the stencils or stamps that you like for background. I just wanted a cool and interesting background to put behind this wooden tree. It was just boring me by itself, and I thought it needed something interesting in the background. I know this isn't super Christmassy. I didn't pick a super Christmas color because I thought I am not going to permanently attach this to the back. I'm going to have a temporary attachment so that it could be maybe sold together, but you can take the tree off and hang other things up like it's a decor board type of a thing. So this one is a little different. I had fun playing with it, and I ended up trying it on my own mantle. Let me know what you guys think. I did a temporary silver thumbtack to be the little holder, and I'm going to be on the lookout for the perfect attachment to make this thing a total cool piece. What do you guys think of this one? So last season, when I was making stuff for my booth for Christmas, I started this project. This thing used to be multicolored, very bright red. Got it from the thrift store, spray painted it white, and then stopped on it. Guys, I've been storing this for a year. I am done with that. So I am taking the color Skeleton Key and my Little Dipper DIY paintbrush, and I am just stippling it on. I kind of wanted to add some texture to this. So I did 2 coats of Skeleton Key along the front, the back, the sides, and the bottom. And since this is DIY paint, the cool thing is I could open up the drawers and use a wet wipe for any of the paint that wasn't so clean looking. This was because I spray painted the whole thing white. You can see a little bit of the boxes are still kind of red from the original thing, but it allowed for like that clean look with the DIY paint. I'm just using a wet wipe to clean up all the edges on the drawers. Next, I am going to start on a mold. So this is I think it's called Oh Christmas Tree mold from the Christmas release from IOD. And I'm just using these little swags to kind of be at the top of the roof and the bottom of the roof. I'm using the DAS air dry clay for this so that I can kind of wrap the swags around the front of the roof line. Could have also done this with resin, but I wanted to kind of wrap it around the roof line, so clay was the best option for me for this one. With clay, it's best to turn your molds over and use gravity and to roll the mold, not the clay. That is kind of the goal. So I'm flipping it over, rolling the mold, and now I'm using Type Bond Quick and Thick to attach this to the roof line. And you can see you still have some opportunity to kind of mess with the clay, mold it around there. After this, I am going to go over the air dry clay with white Swan. I really liked the way that these swags looked with the white and the skeleton key. So I'm making sure it's kind of going over the top, hitting the swag with white Swan, and then I'm going to seal the entire thing with liquid patina. I wanted a matte finish on this, so I went with liquid patina. After that, I'm going to get out some little letter and number stamps that I had gotten from Amazon. These are not easy to use, but they are the best I've got. So I'm going to use my Stays On ink in jet black. I do plan on using white wax over the top of this, so I wasn't worried about it being jet black. I knew I was going to lighten it. So I'm wiping off the edges and numbering 1 through 24. I'm going to finish off the whole thing with a layer of white wax, wipe it back, and then have this beautiful snowy looking advent calendar. I'm going to let you watch the end of this, and I'd love to know what you guys think. This next project was inspired by my friend Kristen over at Simply Joy Creations by Kristen. Go follow her on Facebook if you already haven't. She motivates and inspires me constantly, and I just can't say enough about her. Anyway, last year, when we were in Sonnet's Garden Blooms Creative Network group, she showed us this idea. I bought them last year and never got to them. But you know who did? My 9-year-old. She got to them, and I didn't even realize it, with permanent ink, and she put her little thumbprints on them. So the first thing that I'm going to do is cover up these thumbprints with some white Swan paint. I probably didn't even need to do this when I realized what the paper I was using. I got this paper from Temu. Guys, they are hit or miss, but they did have this paper with hems on it for Christmas, but it's very thick paper, so it's very much like a thick scrapbook paper, so I probably didn't even need to paint it in the first place. But if you are going to use a thinner paper, just make sure you have a nice white background, and I'm just using DIY's liquid patina to decoupage this on, and then I am sanding off the edges. And I'm going to end up, I cut out the words of the songs, and I am going to just cut those out and decoupage those over the top of the scrapbook paper. I'm going to add some ribbon and some just fun little lace that I got from the Dollar Tree, I think a year ago, and a little rusty looking snowflake that I got from Hobby Lobby last year, and just making these cute little angels. I'm not selling them. They are staying with me. I've got that pink Christmas room in my front room, and these little ladies are going to stay with me. What do you guys think? Don't forget to follow Kristen. She's amazing. So for my fifth and final project today, first I started with this plastic ornament. It was a bright gold last year. I spray painted it white. No, I probably used DIY paint and wet distress to get the gold back, but I was like, I really don't love this. So I'm going to use some faded burlap. I'm going to put liquid patina over it to have a nice matte finish. And then I used my antique gold rub and buff. I will put a link in the description from Amazon on how to get that. And I was like, this is kind of a lame fifth project. What else can I add to this? And then I remembered these ornaments that I got after Christmas one year, you know, like 90% off, but weren't really my colors. I was like, maybe these will be my colors. They've never been my colors for Christmas. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use Prairie Grey, faded burlap, do 2 coats and white Swan, make it look, stipple it on when there's smooth surfaces and just brush it on when there's a lot of detail. And then use my fingernail so I don't have to be super neat since it has not sealed yet. And then with some of them, I'm wet distressing with the wet wipe. Others, I am just sealing with liquid patina. With the faded burlap, I tried some white wax, and then I tried some dark wax on some. And I'm just playing around with them. And then I decided I wanted to get the antique gold rub and buff back out to bring out these details. This one, I did not like the purple coming through. It just, I don't know. Purple's just not a Christmas color to me. So even if they are jewel toned. So I decided to go with rub and buff on this particular one. But just check out, I really heavily distressed the white ones. I'm just curious which style is your favorite. I did stand up to do this and apparently, forgot where I need to be holding the ornaments to get in the shot. But I did, this was therapeutic, like taking something that I was like, well, I probably could have brought it to my booth with those jewel tones and maybe sold them. But you know what? My brand, this is my brand. I am neutrals. I love the high-end look that these came out as. And I am curious if you did too. Would you have stopped right here with the white wax? I didn't, spoiler alert, but I was like, well, let me just see how I can kind of make all these kind of go together. So I did end up adding some dark wax over that white wax and use the rub and buff on all of these angles to bring it out and add some shimmer and shine to it. What do you guys think of these ornaments? So what do you guys think? I had fun getting through like my weird little pile of things that I'm not going to use for my personal home for decorating. But you know what? Now most of these things are going into my home, which is kind of crazy. I should be putting it on my booth. But you know what? It's going to have a new life with me for my Christmas. And then maybe next year, if I'm done with it, if I'm done babysitting it, I can put it in my booth. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite item was. I think the thing that I really enjoyed using this week was the Harlequin diamond. It is called a stencil. Good gracious with my words. In one of my last year's videos, I worked on this project right here where I did the taping to tape my own diamonds. And while it turned out amazing, it took a while. So I am really loving this stencil, and I think it's going to be used in many more projects in future videos. Those are currently available on my website, as well as I have a number of Christmas JRV papers and stencils that are on my website. The inventory that I've got is in my hands and I can ship it out within a day or two. I am not ordering anymore because good gracious, that took forever to get here, my last shipment. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell to all so you get notified every time I upload a new video. I had fun doing DIY projects again this week, and I will have another one for next Friday. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.